Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm going to give it a minute here to get started. I want to make sure everything is showing up on Facebook. Okay, that you guys are, oh, there I am. Okay, it's working. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to give it a minute. Some of you are registered to attend through the actual Zoom webinar link. And then we're also live streaming into Facebook because a lot of people in other countries cannot access Zoom for some reason. So let's give it a minute and make sure that we are on track and that we've got people listening. Let's see here. Okay, so let me know, whoever is seeing me. All right, hi, Alessia. I hope I'm saying that right, but you can hear me, right? So tell me you can hear me in the comment below. It looks like it's frozen. I hope not. But as soon as we get a good signal flow, I've got a full signal, but as soon as we're flowing, I'm going to talk about free talks. I'm going to talk about some perspective. Let me know if it's frozen or not. Okay, good. You can hear me, Lisa. Hi, Lisa. I need to put my glasses on. I always end up squinting and then I'm hanging up my cord and all that craziness. Okay, awesome. You can hear me. Perfect. Okay, let me see who's in the webinar participation chat room. All right, you guys are all good on your end. Perfect. Okay, as a reminder, questions in the Q&A, questions in the comments on Facebook, and I will address all of them. So let's get started. I'm going to do some screen sharing here in a minute, but one of the reasons I'm talking about this is because it seems like people, health coaches are getting hung up on how to actually do free talks without just having diarrhea of the mouth, where we give out all this information and then we kind of screw ourselves out of the option of creating clients or signing people up for groups and talks and things like that. This is a valid concern because we are all extremely passionate people. When we get in front of people, it's almost like we just can't hold back on all the information we want to share and give away. But there is a method of being able to do a free talk. And I'm talking about out in the community, and I'm also talking about online as well. So if you have a platform online, you're a complete online health coach, doing free talks would be something like this, like going into a webinar platform on Zoom, doing a join me meeting, something like that. Whatever your choice or preference is of delivering information, that's up to you. Zoom is it for me on everything. Skype has been having a lot of problems lately for me and my team. So you can do a free talk at any gym, any chiropractor, whatever. I've done multiple trainings on how to collaborate with people and how to find people to host you, what that looks like. Feel free to ask questions, but just know that those trainings have been done over and over and over again. So we're going to kind of stick to what it looks like to do a free talk without giving it all away. And then I want to talk a little bit about some perspective on health coaching too, because I'm seeing a lot of discouraging posts and a lot of people feeling like, you know, they're wanting to throw in the towel, give it up or whatever. So let's start with, and I've got a double monitor up here so that I can move easily between both of these platforms here. And Laura said, this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this, is she said, I did a poll on my Instagram account and many followers are interested in a free webinar on meal prepping. Stuck on what type of paid program to have it lead to. Any ideas? Would the whole food guide work, Carmen, or are they unrelated topics? So I have a whole food guide for those of you who are not students or members of the mastery group or haven't purchased it. I have a whole food guide, which is completely customizable for coaches to use. And it's full of information. And I'm going to pull it up in just a minute here and share how you might use this to pull topics and information from. So if they're interested in a free webinar on meal prepping, my question, Laura, would be, of course, they're interested in something free, first of all. But what I would probably do if I were going to do a free webinar on meal prepping that wants to lead into a group program or a class, which is what I highly recommend. So anytime you're doing a free talk or a free class or anything free, you don't always have to lead to something paid at the end, but you're giving them great value. So why not take the opportunity to talk about an upcoming class, to suggest a program or a course or a one-on-one relationship with you or something that you have a flash sale on. Take the opportunity at the very end of your free talk to do that. So ultimately, someone's going to ask me about timing. Free talks can go anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes they can be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how much you've got to talk about and how much you want to share. Then the last, 10 to 15 minutes, you're going to do Q&A, and then 5 minutes or so can lead into a group program or what you're offering that you can get paid for. So that's kind of the structure of it. And I'm going to show something to you that I've shared before, but I'm going to show it to you in just a minute. So give me just 1 second to actually, before I start sharing my screen, I want to pull up the appropriate links and make sure we're all looking at the same thing. Is this it? Okay, this is it. So I'll be checking in with the people that are on my webinar to see if they can see my screen here in just a minute. And questions, again, Q&A would be best. If you put them in the chat, that's fine too, but I would prefer the Q&A box or the comments on Facebook. So, all right. So can someone tell me in the chat that you guys can see my screen? Oh, good. Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate it. Hi, Aaron. Hi, Paige. Oh, good. I get to see names. This is why I love Zoom, because when I'm on Facebook, I don't see everybody. So hi, Michael. Okay. All right. So this is the guide that is, and this is probably from last year. It's my PDF guide. This is not the customizable one, but this, I'm pulling it up for topics only, okay? Because she had asked about topics to lead into a paid group. So what I might do is I might, for the free meal prepping section, I might do something to educate people about the most, and again, I just come up with this stuff. So you guys use your own ideas, please. I encourage you to be the coach that you are, and not that I am. This is just for example's sake. So maybe people are interested in making meals that are easy to make, that don't have a lot of ingredients. That's what I'm interested in anyway. I hate those big long ingredients lists, even if it's like 1 teaspoon of this, 1/8 teaspoon of that, 1 tablespoon of that. That's enough to turn me off. So for someone that's interested in meal prepping, that wants an easy, fast way to have family dinners at home that include whole food, you can do how to get your kitchen set up, or what utensils you need, or what measuring things you need, or how to stock the pantry or the refrigerator for fast family meals, or whatever the topic looks like for you. So Laura, because you're talking to these people, what they're interested in. What you could use the food guide for is, this could be you could lead into this, into the whole food conversation, the whole food lifestyle, all of that, while you're doing the meal prepping. Maybe you focus on prepping meals without gluten in them. I'm just making it up again. Prepping gluten-free meals for the whole family in a fast and efficient way. So then you would take your food guide and you would educate from here, just pulling out information. Like you could, set it up in your own thing. You could read straight from it. You could, whatever you want, but you could give them the food guide as part of the value that you are leading into, that is coming from your paid group. So maybe you talk to them about gluten. You talk to them about the difference in bread then and now. You talk to them about how many options there are out there that don't contain gluten, how to actually, maybe you create a swap sheet. So instead of, Ritz crackers, maybe you talk about Glutino crackers or whatever. You have a form that's, instead of this, have this. Maybe when it comes to prepping, instead of this spaghetti, you would use rice pasta or something like that. So you can use the whole food guide, and there's all your resources, of course, on gluten, what problems it can cause. So you can use this guide however you want to. They're not separate. There's too much information in here to separate it from anything. So pull the information out of your food guide that would pertain to what your group, your paid group coaching would look like. So let me pull something over and share with you. Hold on a second. And let's see here. Group coaching idea. Is this sleep? Yeah, that's sleep. All right. So hold on a minute. I'm looking for food. Is this it? Group. Okay. Is this? Yeah. So, okay. So this is one idea. So the free coaching topic, I call it the FCT for Laura, is meal prepping. So whatever, so the outline might look like this. So she might talk about meal prepping, gluten-free meal prepping for the busy family might be her coaching topic. Her discussion points would be the basics of setting up your kitchen for a gluten-free experience or whatever. And then she would have her own topics and discussion points. Here's the important thing, when you are doing these free talks, in order not to give everything away, you are simply educating them on the basics of what it would mean to stock your kitchen for gluten-free eating or whatever. What the paid program would be, and I'm going to scroll down, leading into your paid group coaching program, the GCP, at the very end of your free talk, you would say to them, so if you're interested in taking meal prep even further and actually walking through the process of making some gluten-free meals, or understanding how to replace some of your gluten-filled products or whatever it looks like for you, you would then have a layout that looks like this. You would tell them. So for the group coaching program that's paid, that the class that it's leading to, you would say, so we're going to talk about whole foods and what they are. We're going to talk about what whole food looks like for the most part. We're going to talk about how we're eating for health or disease. We're going to talk about the 90-10 plan or whatever it may be. So this is just giving you general ideas of what your discussion points can be. So if you're, once you start doing the meal prepping with people, they get more interested in what whole food is all about. They want to know more about, what are they doing with their hamburger helper and their drive-through and what are they doing to their bodies? What are they doing to their families? What are they doing to their wallets when they eat out constantly? And I'm just throwing ideas out there how you can actually help them to make this a low stress, financially, physically, and emotionally low stress transition by taking your free talk about the basics of prepping a meal for a gluten-free kitchen or whatever, and you can move it into how do we actually change everything into a gluten-free lifestyle. That's where the meat of whatever you're sharing with people comes in. That's where you walk them through what a label means. That's how you talk to them about inflammation in the body. That's how you talk to them about molecular mimicry. Touching on the surface of the topics is what you do in the very beginning of the free Q&A. I'm going to give you some more examples in a minute, but I wanted to drag this over and show Laura. So Laura, this is in the school stuff. This is in the mentorship and mastery. You guys have all of this group coaching outline in there for you. But again, the ideas are endless about how you can take a topic, whatever topic it may be, which I'm going to show you, and you can turn it into a really deep program with lots of value that they would never be able to figure out on their own out there online, or that you're not sharing with them in the very beginning. So give me a minute and I'm going to pull over this table here. So another example might be, hold on, is this it? Yes. Okay, so here are some examples. I promised to show you guys some topics and some examples and ideas. I'm going to look at the Q&A in a minute. But so a free talk might be whole food, organic versus non-organic, and why it matters. Now, it may sound like a broad topic, and it is, but it's also one that you can touch on the surface of without going in real deep on any of it, right? So you can say, I'm going to give you the basics of what whole food really is, what organic food is, and what non-organic food is, the definitions of those, okay? You're not holding up things and showing them how to read labels and all that. You're just basically telling them the difference between organic and non-organic and why it matters and what can happen to the body when consuming pesticides or something like that. So you're staying on the surface of this. You're giving them value. You're giving them information. But the deep dive for the group coaching program that you're making money off of, the paid talks, that's where you get into reading labels. You eat and talking to them about easing into the organic lifestyle, understanding why it's important, what's happening to their endocrine system, what pesticides are affecting in their body. You take it deep in your paid talks. You leave it on the surface on the free talks. Another example, hormones. And these are titles you can use if you want to. I just made them up. But hormones, signs and symptoms of imbalance, because almost everyone that's over a specific age, 35, 40, may start to think they may be putting on weight around their middle. They may have had babies and they can't lose the weight. They may have hot flashes. Men may not be able to put muscle on. Women may be weepy and everyone seems to have some sign of hormone imbalance. So you tell them what some of those signs and symptoms may be. You tell them about some age ranges to expect them in. What are hormones really? Because people, what I found here, it's a fascinating topic to me, not only because I'm postmenopause and I've been teaching this for almost 8 years to my own clients, but because so many people are confused about what hormones really even are. They don't understand that leptin and ghrelin and estrogen and testosterone, they don't understand that all of those things are hormones and they all affect the body. So you can educate them on the basics of hormones, and then you deep dive into how to improve with food and lifestyle changes. And that's anything from reducing the estrogen load, cleaning up the liver if it's clogged, it's supplement suggestions and recommendations like maca or, all of those things. So basics, deep dive. The difference between free talks and paid talks is the free talks are the basics that they could Google online if they wanted to, but you take it just a little further and you're explaining it to them in ways that they understand. And then you deep dive with the paid talks. You tease them into wanting more, and you let them know that you have that information when you're doing your free talk. So safe movement. I'm touching on some 7 essentials here, which is what I teach at the Institute. But safe movement, how you move matters. And then you just basically talk about how people are over exercising today. Too many people are doing exercise that doesn't suit their body. That's why I don't call it exercise. I call it safe movement. So you could go into how people who are training for marathons and then they're fatigued and they just can't seem to lose weight might be taxing their adrenals. You can go into details about what it means to move your body in a way that doesn't feel good for you at the time of life and where your health is. And then when you, at the end of your free 30 minutes or whatever time frame you set, you then say, if you want to take this further and you really want to learn how to move your body in a way that makes sense for you, how to reduce the amount of exercise that you're doing and save yourself more time, I'm going to give you some top suggestions for exercise, how they affect the body at different states of someone's health, recommendations of the types of exercise that can elicit a hormonal response, whatever it looks like, okay? So you save the details. Save the details. Is this making sense to you guys so far? So let me know if this is making sense, and let me take a peek. So we don't have any questions so far in the webinar. No questions. Okay. Just let me know if I'm making sense, though. You guys talk amongst and let me know. Yeah, I'll share the chart for you guys. Absolutely. I'll plug it into the files on the Clarity group and the student page and the mentorship and mastery page. But so continuing on, let me go find that again. See, once I close a window, I'm like, wait, where'd it go? Okay, so here's another one. So stress, this is another one of the 7 essentials of the Institute is saying something like stress. It's not just about fights and finances, okay? Because everyone thinks that stress is always related to having a fight with your spouse. Maybe you don't have any money. Maybe you've got a special needs child or whatever. People don't understand what stress really is. So do a free talk on what stress is. Stress is travel. Stress is being excited for someone in your life that's having a baby. Stress is staying up too late. Stress is how we think about ourselves. It's a million different things. We need to move away from talking about stress as just fights and finances, because it's so much more than that. And that's where you go into the paid talk. So once you define what stress is, you give a little explanation about why it's important to understand that it's not just one little thing. It's a bunch of different things that cause stress in our body, and our reaction is the same. You then say, if you want to know more about what it is and how to deal with it, I'm doing a class. I'm going to talk about how hard it is to manage and reduce it and how it can increase your stress level. How stress perception is really the best way to get things under control. Tips on food and lifestyle, and so on. Okay, so y'all seen the pattern here? You're telling them what things are in the free talk, giving them value, educating them. You're leading into the deep dive, which is the paid talk, the group class, the program you put together, the course that you've written, whatever it may be. So, what we're trying to stay away from here, and people are always talking about, is, I give too much away, I get so excited, and then no one signs up for anything. Well, they're not going to, because you're giving them everything. So what we want to do is define the topic, then go deep into how to better understand the topic. All right. Okay. So another one, fun. It's not just for kids. Another 7 essential of the Institute, because it's that important to have fun as adults. So we talk about what fun really is. And I know that sounds like it's a 5-minute conversation, but it's really not. What you do here is you can say, we've all, if you have children, or even all of us, because we've all been children, you remember what it felt like to be carefree. You remember what it felt like to climb trees and jump rope and all of those things. And then you can get into what it really means to have fun today, and why we are, why adults seem to be just, I don't know, it's everyone I see these days doesn't seem to have any personality. Everybody seems to be just like humdrum. And I really believe that there's just not enough fun in people's lives. So talking about those things and why you feel it's important. Then you go into why it's important to have non-tech fun as adults, how it affects our health. This is where we start going into what happens to our hormones when we don't have enough fun, what happens to our brain chemistry, what does fun do for our mood, our serotonin, our dopamine, where can we have more fun as adults, all of those things. So every one of these is a topic that can be, that you can take so much further. Trauma, another 7 essential. It's not just about abuse. So many people think that trauma is, I was never abused as a child, I had a great childhood. Trauma can be anything, and I always use this example. It can be anything as simple as maybe you burned your hand on a stove when you were little, and now your body senses this feeling every time you go around the kitchen. Maybe someone doesn't like to cook because they had that happen to them. Trauma is about so much more than what happened to us when we were children, what happened to us when we were teenagers. It's about all kinds of things. Trauma happens to us as adults all the time. Okay, so maybe you've been betrayed by a spouse. Maybe you have suffered financial windfall. I mean, like, all of these things can be considered trauma. So telling people what it means to experience trauma can actually be very relieving for them, because they can understand why they may be depressed. Maybe that's why I'm anxious. Maybe that's why I don't want to have sex with my husband or my wife or whatever. And if they want to take it further, then we can lead them into how trauma lives in our cells and affects our DNA. What modalities are out there for investigating treatment? We don't want to say the word heal trauma, because we're not doctors and we're not psychologists, we're not counselors. But so we can use words like investigating treatment, relieving the symptoms of trauma, those types of things when we talk. But that's where you take them into that paid group or class. Spirituality, one of the last 7 essential, amen or om, it all matters. And then you can talk about how people seem to feel like spirituality is not, and I don't know if anyone has this experience, but I have friends who think that when I say the word spirituality, that I'm not a Christian. And they're like, oh, well, I'm not spiritual, I'm a Christian. Well, spirituality is so much more than just a title of Christianity or Muslim or Buddhist or Methodist or whatever it may be. So you can educate on what the word spirituality means. It can simply be something that you teach people that wherever they are in their spirituality is okay. The basic understanding of it, that it's all important. And then you can say, you want to take it further, you're someone who feels like you've been floating along in the world with no direction, or you feel all alone. I'm going to talk to you about how being disconnected from a higher source can really affect your health. I'm going to give you some ideas on how to connect. I'm going to talk to you about these important differences in meditation, yoga, prayer, whatever. Okay. So is all that helping? Is that helpful for you guys with topics and stuff like that? Like, your free talk will always lead into that really deep dive, high value, where they know that there's something in there that they want from you. Okay. Lisa says, we also over deliver because we learned at the feet of the master over deliverers. Yeah. I mean, it's true. And I think, the other thing about why we tend to over deliver and why we tend to give it all away is because we have this fear that if we don't just keep talking and we don't keep giving, that they're not going to take us seriously, or they're going to doubt us, or they're not going to think that we're credible enough. And that's just not true. I mean, it's just not. There's way, way too much information out there that people could absolutely look up on their own, but we are the deliverers of information that end the overwhelm and keep things, easy for them to understand. Okay. All right. So let me just pop up. I'm going to stop the share for a second. And I'm going to pop into the chat and just make sure no one's talking. Okay. It's very helpful. Great. Makes sense. Loving it. Very helpful. Very helpful. Okay. Awesome. Hey, Lauren, your first Zoom and your first time with me. Thank you. Awesome. I'm so glad. Welcome, Lauren. I'm so glad you're here. And we do have student calls tomorrow, Lauren. So we'll have more of this type of thing. And this is the type of thing I love to talk about and share. I don't see any questions in Q&A, so I'm going to close these little windows down. All right. So let me throw this out there for you guys. And then we're going to talk about health coaching mindset. I want to talk a little bit about that. And talk about throwing in the towel, because I can see that there are some people that are feeling like doing that. The topic chart, I just created it literally 6 minutes before I did this live, Tracy. So I'm going to share it with you guys in the student page and in the mentorship group as well. Okay. Yeah. Joan says, running a little bit late, going to listen to all the replay information. Yes. Okay. So here's the other thing. So let's touch on a little bit on, let me pull over this one. Actually, this is a good example too. This one will actually show you, and I'll share in a second, what the sleep template looks like, what a sleep. And I love this one because first of all, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but I actually love the title of this, even though I made it up myself. But hold on a minute. Why is this not opening up? Hold on a minute, guys. There we go. Okay. So this one's on sleep. All right. If there's ever a topic besides weight loss that everybody wants so much more information on, it is sleep. Hands down, it is sleep. People think they're sleeping great when they get up 2 to 3 times a night. And they're like, oh, no, I'm sleeping great. Then why are you exhausted in the middle of the day? Why are you falling asleep in the middle of the morning? Why can't you get through a workout, right? So this is one of those topics that I think every coach should be teaching something about sleep, because it is that important to repair the body. So here's an example. This is part of my group coaching program too. So if you're a student or you're a member of the mastery group, you already have all of this. Okay. You have access to this. I do have it for sale on my website if anybody's interested. I'm just sharing it with you to show you the outline. Okay. This is not a pitching training. This is me sharing with you. All right. So group coaching idea number 2, and I call it number 2 because it's part of a package. But the free coaching program might look like something like this. So your free talk would be insomnia. It's more dangerous than just being tired. We then talk about the basics. Remember what I said earlier? We talk on the basics and we define. So you can describe insomnia based on conventional medical terms. Talk about what it means to be functionally sleeping well. It's very different from what conventional medical terms are. Talk about the dangers of not getting enough sleep and how it affects your health. And you don't go into detail on these. You can say, I want to talk a little bit about the dangers of not getting enough sleep and let you know that it truly does affect your health. So one of the things that it affects the most are your hormones. So hormone disruption might look something like this. And then you can give a small example. And then you can say obesity. So, you can go into leptin and ghrelin and insulin resistance and all of that and how it's all affected by lack of sleep or whatever. You can say, safety issues in the workplace. You can simply look up some facts on that about how, and this is good for corporate too, for corporate conversations and classes. Talk about, people who aren't sleeping enough or having issues in the workplace. So, accidents happen more often when people are tired. You could talk about anxiety, how anxiety goes up when we don't sleep enough, and give a little example of that, higher risk of heart disease, whatever. And then you can touch on the basics. What affects our sleep? You can say circadian patterns being off, meaning, when the sun shifts and changes, if we don't go to bed close enough to that pattern, it can throw off our sleep. That's not telling them what a circadian pattern is. That's not telling them how it works. That's not going into detail about the curve of the sun and how cortisol works. It's not going into any of that. It's just simply stating that with a little bit of information. Stress affects our sleep. Our monkey mind gets going too fast. It can push our cortisol up. It can suppress our melatonin. Then we go into high cortisol, menopause genetics. Okay. So then again, after that, your 30 minutes, you could fill 2 hours with this, but you're talking about 30 minutes with the basics. You lead into the GCP. Remember, the group coaching program that you're getting paid for, which I titled the ABCs and how to get more Z's of sleep. Now, this is where you deep dive. We've given them free value. They're taking their time to meet with us. They're taking their time to be in our call. They're taking their time to listen and take time out. So we want to give them that value we just talked about. But when we're putting our time and energy into something that's much more in depth, then we want to lead them to something that they have to pay for. All right. So then discussion points for the group coaching program might be revisiting the insomnia briefly as it's understood conventionally, diving into the functional definition of insomnia, causes of sleep issues, and this is where you deep dive, okay? So remember, many times people who come to the free talk, they're the ones who are signing up for the paid talk. So maybe they've heard a word or two about circadian rhythm, but you're going to go into detail about what it means, how to live by the circadian clock, how it can balance our hormones, and et cetera, et cetera. Stress, how it affects cortisol, how it competes with the hormone of melatonin, how we can wake up in the middle of the night with blood sugar, whatever. I mean, there's a million topics right here. How to start getting better sleep. So then you're giving them the solution. So not only are you giving them the value, you're giving them solution. So that is also the difference between free talks and paid talks. You're giving them the basic information, but the solution is in the paid talk, right? Does that make sense? Okay, let me check the Q&A real quick. Tracy is saying, how do you best manage questions that require entering into the deep dive without seeming dismissive or rude? Okay, so let's say someone says to us, tell me, I want to know all about the circadian pattern. How do you get into the, how do you change your life and start sleeping in the circadian pattern? Let's say we've got that audience member, okay? We've got that person out there that is either raising their hand 1,000 times on the Zoom, or they're sitting in the audience with their hand up about everything. Like, I want to know this and I want to know that. This is how you do it. You tell them, you say, that is, going into each one of these topics is something I'm going to talk about at the end of the talk today. So let me just go ahead and keep moving through. You can say that. You can say, so say the talk is over and their hand goes up at the end and says, I want to know more about circadian this, I want to know this, and and they're trying to be that that person that sucks the information out of you, right? Then you would say something like this. Each one of the things that I touched on today is the bare basics of the information. Some of these things take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes to even dig into. So that's why I'm going to talk to you about what I'm about to share, which is a live, which is a program that I am launching to take all of these things deeper. Not only that, but you can also tell them, when we do and this leads into Lauren's question as well, how do you squash a Q&A politely so it doesn't drag on and give away too much? So let me answer that in a minute, but let me go back to Tracy real quick without being dismissive or rude. We have to remember that we have a responsibility to protect our business and ourselves. We have a responsibility to protect the people that are coming to our free talks by not giving them information that they're going to run home and implement, right? Because they are going to take it as us going, well, Carmen told me to do this. No, Carmen didn't. You just heard what I said and you took it home and decided to do it. So what I like to say is when I teach my group classes and programs, I like to get a disclaimer from everyone, because I'm protecting my business, and it's okay to tell people that. As a health coach, I've got to protect my business because we are talking about these sensitive issues as health. So in order to share even deeper information, I have to have a disclaimer signed. And in a group, it's a great way for me to educate you further. So you're not necessarily dismissing them or being rude about it. First of all, it's okay to protect your business. I mean, we go places all the time where people write on the menu, this may have this in it. Don't eat this with this. I mean, it's no different for us. We have to protect our businesses. So saying something like that is what I would do. I would let them know, I'm glad you asked that question about deep diving into circadian rhythm, because I'm going to give you a solution to that when I get done finishing with this free talk. Or you can say, that's what I'm going to be talking about in this group coaching program that I'm going to tell you all about. You're going to learn this, and this. Okay. All right. I hope that was helpful. So Lauren is saying, how do you squash Q&A politely so it doesn't drag on and give away too much? Yeah. So here's what you do. You set yourself up for success at the very beginning of the conversation. When you start your free Q&A, first of all, actually, they should know how long this session is going to be before they even walk in the door for the free talk. So whatever marketing materials, wherever you're putting the information out, should have a time frame on it. Join us for this free 30-minute conversation with 15 minutes left at the end, or 15 minutes of Q&A. Or join us for this hour-long presentation to involve enough time for Q&A. So you're putting that on your marketing, you're putting that on your materials or flyers, you're doing it in your video ads or whatever. You're letting them know there is a time frame on this, okay? Then at the beginning of your talk, you would say, so I'm going to spend about 20 to 30 minutes talking to you guys about sleep. I want to go over the basics of insomnia and so on. So when we get to the end of the 30 minutes, we're going to have about 15 minutes left for Q&A. So you may want to hold your questions till the end, because I probably will answer quite a few of them. But if not, just make sure at the end that you raise your hand and I'll go into some detail. And then I'm also going to share an opportunity for you that may be able to even get you some more answers. So you are giving them that heads up. I'm going to talk for 20 or 30 minutes. At the end, I'm going to give you 15 minutes for Q&A, and I'm also going to present to you a solution. My nose is itching like crazy, y'all. I don't know what those fuzzy things floating around outside are, but one went right up my nose at CrossFit today, and this has not stopped. Anyway, okay, so that's how I would handle that. And your time is valuable. So just remember this, Lauren, when you are in front of people, it's easy to just kind of you get nervous. First of all, a lot of people get nervous talking to people. You probably get that underlying feeling like, oh my gosh, I want them to know I know what I'm talking about. And, at the end of this, I don't want to cut anyone off. So don't set the tone for your talk with any kind of nervousness or feeling like you owe anyone anything. That's part of the other reason we give too much away, is we feel that we owe them something. We owe people, our time. We don't owe anybody anything. We're giving them free, valuable information about things that they're asking for, that they want to learn more about. So value yourself before you even get started. Put that in your head that, even if you have to say to yourself, my time is valuable, I'm going to talk for 30 minutes. If I get close to the time, and you can say that too, we're getting close to the hour. So let's take one or two more questions and then let's wrap it up. Okay. The other thing I want you to be sure that you do is you have a way for them to sign up, so maybe you have, group coaching program, you have a price. Yes, I'm interested. Please send me more information. And then they sign their name on that. Or if you have collected their email and you're doing an online thing like this, you will be sending them out an email about your group coaching program in an uninvasive way because they've already signed up to attend your free talk, right? That makes sense? Okay. Wanda is saying, I got to get a drink of tea, you guys. Hold on. How do you deal with nonprofit organization when one asks you to do a workshop and you want to be compensated? So you tell them, you can say, yes, I absolutely love to do free Q&As. I have all kinds of topics to talk about. Are you okay with me pitching what I offer at the end of the talk? And then if they are, so I wouldn't necessarily walk in the door and expect to be compensated. If you are brand new to all of this and you're just trying to get the word out to your community, I would say I would love to do a free Q&A, but I would like the ability to lead into a paid program that I offer. Or if you have been in this business for a while and you're busy and your schedule's full and you don't have to do this workshop for exposure and you want to be paid, then I would say when someone asks you about that, get their email address and say, yeah, let me send you a copy of my fees and services and what I offer when I do my free talks. Then you just email them, what you're offering, and it's in there. So doing a free talk or doing a group talk for a nonprofit is no different than anyone else. I used to be a president of a nonprofit. I've been on boards of multiple nonprofits, and we paid people to bring in education and value to people whenever we needed that. Okay. So if they need the education that you're offering, then they're going to take your fees and services page and they're going to look at that and think, okay, that's something that's going to benefit people for sure. Or what you also could do is if they're like, well, we don't have money to pay. Okay. You can say, well, I'll tell you what, let me give you a a discount and just have your attendees they can pay me directly. So you would then be a contracted person that goes in to speak at the nonprofit organization, but you would be responsible for getting the money, receiving payment, tracking all of that, probably responsible for most of your marketing and stuff like that. So don't just agree to do a talk at a nonprofit just because it's a nonprofit. They make money too. That's what the nonprofits, they make the money to pay for whatever they're offering. Like the Humane Society, like every dime that they made went into paying the staff to run the organization due to the spays and neuters and investigations and things like that. So I think that one of the things we need to keep in mind, we think that a nonprofit is something that, it should all be for free and we should donate our time. And that's okay if they allow you to lead to something that's going to be worth your time there. Or of course, if you just want to do it for free, and that'll give you exposure too. All right. Okay, Lauren. So do you use flashcards as reference during a talk? I'm brand new. I'd definitely be nervous at first. No, I'm not a flashcard girl. But if you're in person with people, what you could do, so what I did when I was doing I had a thyroid thing, and you've got access to the thyroid training I give to you. So you'll see the guide, Lauren, when you get into Thyroid Week, which I think is week 17 of the content. That particular guide, I just had the guide in my hand and I would just teach from the guide. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having index cards in your hands to keep you on track at all. Just remember when you're doing a talk that if people don't have something to look at, you need to have a shorter talk. Or if you have something that you want to hand out to them, or if you've got a screen or a PowerPoint or a slide deck, like doing it live like this, I recommend having a slide deck or have something for people to look at. Sharing documents like I've been doing for you guys to keep you on track and help to share the information. So you're going to be able to see, Lauren, I'm giving you so much of this information on how to actually do talks. When you get to the group coaching section, it's a whole week of the group coaching program. So if you have questions when you finish that, let me know. And I'm happy to do one of our student support classes around that as well. All right. And everyone's nervous. So just know that everyone gets nervous. I tell the story all the time of how I got over my nervousness by presenting a talk to my dogs. I know that sounds crazy, but it worked. It worked. I no longer get nervous. As you can see, I've probably done 500 videos. I don't know how many webinars I've done. I've talked to the county commissioners. I've gone to the mayor's office. But I had that heart pounding feeling and that fear at the very beginning of my business too. And the only way that I knew to get through that was to do it anyway, and then find a way to practice and rehearse. And so at the time I just lined all my animals up and I gave my speech to my animals over and over again with a timer running so that I stayed on track. And that's what helped me. So how do you balance giving talks for free and when do you ask to be compensated? So that depends really. It's going to depend on, so when I'm online and I do a webinar, I always lead into something paid unless it's something like this. Like I'm not pitching to you guys. If you want information on my group coaching stuff, ask me, or I'll share the links in the live and all of that. I'm doing this just because I want to be helpful. So you make that decision. What feels good to you? I feel like being helpful. I felt like doing this for free. Next week, I'm going to do another training. I have time right now because I've got my team working really hard on all of the other pieces of my business. So you've got to think about this. Do you feel, here's some questions you got to do some self-discovery. Do you feel like you should, do you feel like you should be making money? Do you feel like you should be making money when you're doing the talk? Like, I am giving away so much. And when you get done, are you bitter? Okay. That's a good sign that you're doing too many free talks. All right. Are you growing your list by doing, too many paid things? If you are, not growing your list by doing too many paid things, then maybe you increase the free things that you're doing to get that list growing and gather interest and get those valuable people, those people that want what you have. They're going to come to the free talk and they're going to be your warm audience that leads into the paid programs, classes, and talks that you offer. So I don't know that there's really a balance. I think that it is, where are you in your business? Do you have a wait list of clients? Do you feel like this is something you want to spend your time on because it feels good to you? So I really think it's going to come right down to asking yourself if this is something you want to do. Or are you really behind in building your business and you're not even out there, with your reach, you're not getting out into the world, then you need to be doing that. You need to be doing the free talks to start getting your name out there and getting people to know who you are. Okay. So I think a lot goes into it. And the word balance is one of those things that makes it's like stress reduction. I'm like, what, there's no such thing as balance in this world, in my opinion. I think we can do some things great some days and some things better on others. That's just kind of how I think about it. But okay. So Wanda, let's see, you already asked about the compensation. Let me go back out to Facebook and see if there's any questions. Okay. I don't see any questions on here, but I don't want to refresh my screen. Okay. Yeah. Sleep, my nemesis. Yeah. And again, these are topics, you guys, that you can talk about with anyone. These are really, just think about something you struggle with. There are going to be other people out there that are struggling with it too. Pretty much guarantee it. So think about something that you've been through in your life that is a basic human necessity, like sleep or movement or eating better or whatever. And that's a topic. And then you can tell your story about it. Like, one of the reasons I want to do this free talk about trauma is because I recently experienced, some major trauma in my life as an adult, and I realized how important it was. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. And then you lead into that paid trauma deep dive, where they get more of you and they get more of that information. So really, truly the basics of this. And then I'm going to go into some mindset stuff here about throwing in the towel on health coaching and why you shouldn't. But the basics of this are just going to remember the free talks are keeping it surface level, dipping your toe in the water a little bit on the depth, but really just kind of teasing them into wanting to know more and wanting to take it more, wanting to get more from you. You want to be that, you want them to be that sponge that is dying to soak up everything that you offer. So if your free talk has that element to it, you're going to be able to move people into a paid group coaching program a lot faster and a lot more often. You're going to have a higher conversion rate with that. Okay. All right. So any other questions about group coaching, you guys, or classes or any of it? And this is online, in person, in your community, doesn't matter. Yeah. So Christilla, that's a pretty name. If I said it right, Christilla. What's a charge for paid group coaching program? Again, that depends. It can, and let me pull this chart over and I'll kind of give you guys hold on a minute. Is this it? Group coaching template. Hold on. And this is part of my group coaching program too. So I'm not being very effective with the drag and share thing today. All right. And so for those of you who don't know why group coaching programs or group coaching and why free talks and all that are so valuable, you might be new to coaching and you might think, well, I just want to do one-on-ones. I want you to tuck this webinar in the back of your head, because you can only do one-on-ones for so long before you hit a burnout, before you realize that there's only so much time in a day. And maybe you don't need the money, and maybe one-on-ones are all you want to do, and your husband makes more money, and if this is just kind of fun for you or whatever. But most of us are trying to make a lucrative business out of this. And that is going to kind of lead into Alicia's, I wonder if I have that right. Her comment here about when do you know when it's time to throw in the towel. So I'm going to get to that in a second, but this is kind of an idea. So of what group coaching looks like. So I talk about, the group coaching template that I offer, that I really practice that remove, rest, and replace technique when I talk about group coaching and in my group coaching programs. And the reason why I think they're so powerful is because you can make more money, you can expand your reach, and people have the support of each other to within your program. So if you're doing Facebook, and again, I've done a million trainings on group coaching, so I'm not going to go over this whole thing, but there are pros and cons to doing one-on-ones. There are pros and cons to doing group coaching. The pros for group coaching are much higher than the pros for the one-on-ones as you go along. Okay. So locally, I talk about all this, how to rent a space, where would you do that online, go to meetings, Zoom, when to hold the classes, specific times, what to charge. Again, this is going to depend on location, experience, and how much value you're offering. General ideas and guidelines would be something like locally, if you're spending more time and money, you would charge accordingly. If it's a one-time class, 90 minutes long, you could do something like $29.97 or $39.97 per person, depending on how much value you're offering. Online, you get to stay in your own environment, but you may need to invest in online resources and meetings and programs. The cost would still be minimal. So looking at the value you're offering, the time spent on the content, and the demographic you work with. But you can always do sales and offer discounts and scholarships to appeal to a wider audience. So what to charge really depends on where you're located, how much experience you have, etc. So you can always skip the free talk for an existing audience. Again, it's not necessary to do a free talk, but I think they're valuable and I think people really appreciate them. So let's see here. This is the tip again that I've been talking about this whole time. All group coaching should lead somewhere. Another group topic class, a product you sell, one-on-one services, a relationship for 3 months. A great way to increase revenue is to create an online group membership and recurring monthly fees. I did a webinar with Kylie Malcolm about this last week on how to do group memberships. So, all right, so let's talk real quick here. And I didn't get into details totally about this, Christia, because it depends on 1,000 things. You just really got to think about what you're offering, where you live, who are you trying to appeal to, how much time are you going to spend, are you going to travel somewhere, are you going to buy products and samples and snacks and all that for the event and so on. There's a lot of pieces to take into consideration. Wanda says, I was just asked to do a workshop for a nonprofit organization. The person has a platform to send PowerPoint presentations through YouTube. Since he wanted to see an example of one of my PowerPoint presentations that I'd already done, he asked if he could use some of the updated information from my presentation to use with an existing one he has. No, that's a no. I don't feel comfortable in doing so if I'm not compensated. What would you say and how would you protect your information if you're giving the presentation? I know this is a long question. You can unmute me if you want to. It's okay. So here's what I would do, Wanda. First of all, I would have my content, and I would say that, I really don't like to mesh my content in with someone else's. If there's something that you would like me to add into my presentation of yours, I can reference you in it, absolutely, but I would not give my content to someone else to plug into their presentation. No way. So that's what I would say. I would say to him, I really have to protect my content because I use it out in the world of my business. So if you want to marry these, the information that we have in a presentation, I'm more than happy to add your content to mine and let you take a look at it, but also to reference you as well. That's the way that I would do it. But just let them know, like, this is my business content outside of just this nonprofit organization. I use it out here in the world too. And that way you're kind of telling them it's not that I don't trust you, but I don't want my content that I use in my business to be dispersed amongst in someone else's presentation. Does that make sense, Wanda? I hope that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, you agree. Thanks for your response. Excellent. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so if there's no more questions about the group stuff, let's talk real quick because I've got a call starting here in 8 minutes where Alicia, that doesn't look right to me, but I think it's right. Alicia Donato says, is there a time we should reevaluate whether we need to throw in the towel if we're not making any money or helping others? Feels like I'm doing a lot, but not getting very far. And after a year, I don't know if I'm beating a dead horse or if it's part of building a business. I can absolutely reassure you that it is part of building a business, 100%. It is part of it, is to be a year in and feel discouraged and feel like, oh my gosh. And, in my class the other day, I did this kind of life cycle of a health coach. I didn't write it out. I was just kind of explaining how it works, because we have some students that are feeling the same way, where they're like, oh my gosh, I've got this, I've spent this on my business, I've got this, and I'm not getting any clients, and I don't know, I'm just feeling discouraged. So the life cycle, I keep thinking of a butterfly, but of a health coach, it really does start out with a few different things, where it's, you're super excited, you're passionate, you have knowledge, you're healthier, you've walked through a journey, you know that you can make money, you're looking around for people to help, and you're like, okay, I just want to do that, I just want to help people. So you start doing the free stuff, and you're doing this health coach hobbyist thing. And, as time goes on, more and more people are starting to come to you, start to be this magnet. Then you start to like, okay, I'm starting to not enjoy this as much because I'm not getting paid for it. How can I make it a business? You're moving into that. Okay, now I'm going to set up, looks like I need a certification. Where do I go to school? You start dropping money on certifications, trainings, courses, classes, and yet you still don't know how to build your business. There's one reason why at the Institute, I swear to you, that's why I put all the business stuff in the front, because I want logos and licenses and taxes. I want that business built at the very beginning, so that when you get towards the end of that health coach life cycle, where you're ready to take those clients, you've got your intake forms, and you've still got the passion and all of that all of these pieces that protect your business are done. Most schools don't do that. They make you wait till the very end, and then you got to pay $1,000 for a business, for another business course. So, my point is this, is that when you're moving around that life cycle of a health coach, you're going to have these moments where you go up and down with it. Like, you want to stick with it and you don't. And then someone's going to come in and give you hope that you're doing the right thing. And then maybe you're going to go a couple of weeks where no one watches your lives, or no one contacts you. It's very normal to feel this way. So what I would say when it comes to, I'm not getting very far, and after a year feeling like you're being a dead horse or whatever, is you need an outside observer, someone to look at your business. Now, I do private mentoring, but I also have the Health Coach Mentorship and Mastery group, where I encourage people. If you guys aren't a part of it, you need to join us. It's $47 a month. It used to be $97, and we dropped it down to get more people the help that they need. You put your question in there, you share your information in the group, get some people looking at what you're doing. We have to have someone step outside of ourselves, you guys. I hired a business coach. I have team members. They are constantly looking at what I'm doing and giving me feedback. You can't be enmeshed and in depth inside your business and see what you're missing, or see what you might not be doing right, or see what you could be doing better. So if you're at a place where you feel like this is just, frustrating, and you don't think you can make any money, let me just encourage you. Yes, you can, but you cannot do it alone. You've got to have the support of your peers. You've got to reach out to the people in this community that have done it. And there are health coaches that are doing this. I mean, the mentorship group is full of people that are just rocking their business. And then we also have to remember this, what's going on up here in our minds that could be inhibiting our success and our growth. So there's a lot of different things to look at. I don't think you're beating a dead horse. I think you just, I think you might need someone else to come over and see if the horse is still alive, that it's not dead on the ground after all. And then, sit back from that and get some feedback about what you're doing and what might be missing, and where you need to improve, or things that you may need to stop doing that could be making you feel this way. So I have a lot of people that are like, well, I'm just not getting any clients. They've been coaching for 2 years. They used to be really busy. Now they're not. Well, that to me is a sign. If you had a busy, thriving practice with one-on-ones, and you're 2 years in and it's kind of slowed down, then maybe that's a sign that you're supposed to move and grow with your business by doing something differently, doing group classes, doing some programs, creating a course, do something evergreen where you can bring in some passive, not passive 100%, but where people can sign up for your course and you're making money while they're doing that. So I think there's a lot of different things to consider when we're feeling discouraged and down and like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to be something that, is lucrative? We need to look out there and find somebody that can see our business that in ways that we can't, and can point out our blind spots. So, I do mentorship. I do work with coaches one-on-one. It's one of my favorite things to do, but I'm also a butt kicker. So, in a tough love, loving kind of way, I'm going to say to you, this is what I see. This is inhibiting your growth. This is where you're stuck. This is what I would do if I were you. These are the areas that you need to stop focusing on. So it's one of my favorite things to do. It's why I opened the mentorship group, because I love to pick things apart and help people get over those plateaus. All right, Joan says, I love this info. I happen to remember recently I did a past internet marketing client still owes me for a barter I did with her for a website. She has a darling cottage, a beautiful flower garden I can use for group coaching events. That's awesome. So if you're going to do something like that, absolutely make sure that you treat it like a business. So make sure that you sign up with like on a contract or whatever that you're doing, like, you know, whatever she needs you to sign, that you're both protected. So treat it like a business exchange and not an actual barter type of thing. So all the necessary documents you need to have signed to protect you in that space, and that she needs signed so that you're not liable for specific things. Okay. Christia, I hate when I have to like try to figure that out because I don't want to butcher someone's name. What are the best platforms for group coaching? So Kylie Malcolm's got a program out there, and I'll grab some links. I'm going to put them in the Facebook Live on the Clarity group. I'll put that out there. There is, and I wish I could remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I use ClickFunnels. But if you're just getting started, I don't recommend ClickFunnels as a membership platform, but a platform for the group coaching. I guess I was thinking membership. So group coaching, just get on Zoom. You can have, I think it's like $9 a month or $9.99, or it's really inexpensive to have a meeting room and hold a group coaching program. Really inexpensive. So look at Zoom first because it's super friendly. It has the share screen. You can poll, chat, Q&A. You can share your screen and walk through food guides, documents, whatever you've got. So look at Zoom first. That's your best option. Can we get a link to the Health Coaching Mastery group? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Hold on a second and I'll grab it for you. Let's see. And it's one, you know, the group, the health coach, there it is. Mentorship and Mastery group. I hope it doesn't start playing a video. It might. It is where I live. It is the place that I live. It is where I spend all of my time when it comes to like helping coaches with their business. I'm going to tuck this into the chat here for you. Yep, there's the Mentorship and Mastery platform, and there's no hidden anything. So if you join it and you do a month and you're like, nah, that's not for me, just cancel. Like you're not going to, there's nothing secret like, oh, 12 months from now, we're going to charge you again. If you sign up for an annual renewal, yes, you'll get charged again. But if you sign up for a month and you don't want to stick with it, just tell us. We'll take care of you. We don't want anybody in the group that's not ready to get going with their business. I don't want your money just for that. Okay, that's not what it's about. It is for people who are ready to fast forward their business and need the support of each other that are already doing this. That's what the Mentorship and Mastery group is all about. We are go-getters. We are doers. Absolutely. All right. All right. Joan says, thank you. She already signed a contract with me for the barters. Yes, I would do something. I would actually just update it, get the dates changed, and just make sure there's nothing new that needs to be changed in there, Joan. That's what I would do with that. All right, you guys, I have 1 minute and I got to roll with another call. So if that's it, then I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope that you will absolutely consider getting into this group coaching and free talk stuff. It is amazing exposure. It really gives people the ability to learn who you are. You know, know, like, and trust is a real thing in the business. They got to know you to get to like you and then trust you. There's a step-by-step process. And the best way to do that is talk to people. Let's get out from behind our screen and shutting off our camera and all of that. Let's do that. And let's get out there and actually be out in the world and show people who we are. It's the best way to build your business. Okay. So thanks so much for all the questions, and thanks for participating and being a part of this. I appreciate it, you guys. And have a great rest of the day. All right. And a great rest of the week as well. And keep your eyes open because I'm doing more training next week. See you later.